The air with breaking news about that deadly truck ramming attack in New Orleans. Any moment now, President Biden is set to speak about the attack, which is now being investigated as an act of terrorism by the FBI. Here's what we know at this hour. It happened early this morning on New Orleans' bustling Bourbon Street. The FBI says a driver intentionally rammed a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be a rental, into crowds who were celebrating the new year. At least 15 people are dead. More than 30 others are hurt. The New Orleans police superintendent says the driver was, quote, hellbent on creating carnage. The FBI identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsud-Din Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas and an Army veteran who was killed in a shootout with police. The agency also says an ISIS flag and other explosives were found in the truck. Agents are asking the public for help to find any other potential leads, and there have been various questions about whether there may be others who have been involved in this. Officials say their case is very active, and they still are clearing the crime scene tonight there. Let me go to Tom Yamas right now, who has been watching along with us from New Orleans. Tom, what's the status of things now?
Lester, good evening. Well, I want to show our viewers where this all happened. It happened just behind me there in the corner. The alleged terrorist drove his pickup truck right through here. He jumped the curb, getting around a police cruiser, and then hit Bourbon Street and went 3 blocks straight. His pickup truck was not his only weapon. He also had at least 1 firearm and also an explosive device. He drove for 3 blocks, Lester, and imagine this, 3 a.m., Bourbon Street, New Year's Day. It was packed with revelers. He killed at least 15 people so far. That number is expected to grow, possibly because several people right now are fighting for their lives inside of New Orleans hospitals. When he crashes his car into a crane on Conti Street, again, which is 3 blocks up, he gets out and he gets into a shootout with police. Police were able to shoot and kill him, and that's where the investigation has begun from here. There are still some major questions, including why did he pick New Orleans? Why New Year's Day? One reason...
Because he knew it was fucking be packed.
Might be the massive crowds that come here on any night to have a great time on Bourbon Street, but also because the Sugar Bowl, just behind me is the Superdome over there, and the Sugar Bowl is one of the biggest college football games around, Lester, as you know. It was set to take place. It's going to be postponed now, but there were those huge Sugar Bowl crowds rooting on the University of Georgia and Notre Dame in town for the big game as well, and the alleged terrorists might have thought this would have been a good target. The other big question people are asking, why were there no barriers? Behind me here on Bourbon Street, there should be what are known as bollards. They're essentially metal poles, if you will, and they stop cars from going inside. Well, they were redoing all of them for the Super Bowl, and I've been told by sources close to the projects that were ongoing here in New Orleans to replace those bollards that there was a rush. They wanted to fast-track this project to get those bollards up before the Super Bowl, was just about a month away, a little over a month away here in New Orleans, and that the work was being done very quickly. Because it was being done very quickly, they removed all the bollards on Bourbon Street. So essentially, the alleged terrorist, when he came through here and he got around that squad car, he had free reign to go all the way down Bourbon.
So instead of systematically taking him out, they just thought about the Super Bowl, not the Sugar Bowl. And then he might have knew that shit. Like, oh, okay, I need to hurry up and strike, and this is the only chance I'm going to have with a big crowd. And then the next event is the Super Bowl. So that might have sped up his timeline.
Street, really with not a lot stopping him, and that's why he was able to go at least 3 blocks. Those questions are being asked right now, Lester, and a lot of people here in New Orleans just shaken to their core. Not only people who live in New Orleans, they love New Orleans, but
how long did that
all
take?
The people that are in town, the tourists that came here to celebrate New Year's Day and college football and got a much different experience, Lester.
And Tom, as you know, there has been a lot of questions about a possible motive here. There was a flag that was hit to a trailer, if I understand, an ISIS flag. Have officials gone further to discuss what they think might be a specific motive in this case?
You know, I will say this, Lester. The investigation, obviously, as you know, is very fluid. They have reported that ISIS flag was on the back of the pickup truck. You can see that in some of the images that have been taken of the white pickup truck. It looks like he had a large pole with the black flag attached to the back of that pickup truck on that pole. You can see it right here. It's in the center of the bed right there. And so that's one of the things, obviously, the FBI that's now leading the investigation is going to be looking at. The other thing that is interesting in this case, we're talking about a U.S. citizen who is also an Army veteran, right? We understand now he had a career in the Army. He served in Afghanistan in both human resources and IT capacities. He was also a realtor and a property manager in Texas before this all happened. So there's a lot of questions on when did he become radicalized? what was the motive here, why he chose New Orleans, and was he indeed working with ISIS? And also the big question, Lester, and this has been going back and forth, were there others who had helped him? The FBI initially had said they were looking for co-conspirators. That might be changing, but it's still very fresh in the investigation, Lester.
All right, Tom Yamas, thanks very much. Again, we are standing by. We expect to hear remarks at any moment by President Biden, who will be making his first public comments about this horrible tragedy. Let me go to Jesse Kirsch, who is also in New Orleans and gathering on this story as well. Jesse, what can you report?
Yeah, so Lester, we are just outside of the Superdome, which is set to host the Sugar Bowl, part of the college football playoff tomorrow, and then the Super Bowl. And as you can see, they have added further barriers along the border here tonight in a city that has a lot of questions facing it as far as security preparation.
So you telling me they had them, they just didn't think it was pertinent enough to put these out? That's crazy. Can you imagine those players that got to play in that bowl too, whether it's tomorrow or 3 days from now? This is going to be in their mind. This is going to be in the crowd's mind. They're going to have to do a whole tribute to these people that lost their lives today, all 15 or more of these people. That's crazy, man. World.
Ahead of New Year's Eve.
Hours after that bloody attack on Bourbon Street, tonight growing questions about the physical barriers used to secure the area. Devices known as bollards, typically short stainless steel posts, are often used in high-profile parts of cities and towns to help control crowds and vehicles. But early this morning on Bourbon Street, the bollards weren't there. New Orleans' mayor explained today that the system was in the midst of repairs.
Bollards were not up because they are near completion, with the expectation of being completed, of course, by Super Bowl.
The game set to
Somebody dropped the ball on that one. They're going to get fired.
Be played in New Orleans next month. The superintendent of police says other barriers like police vehicles and officers were in place to secure Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve. But video shows how the attacker drove right around a patrol car.
So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
Anything that is currently in the midst of being repaired had a backup replacement for last night.
Vehicles and officers were there where all of those ballasts have been. We had that. We knew. So we did have it. And like I said, in this particular case, terrorists just went all the way around up onto the sidewalk.
Was someone getting up on a sidewalk considered impossible or nearly impossible, or was this not something you expected you would have to account for?
Yes, of course, it wasn't something we expected to account for.
New Orleans.
That's a crazy answer. Hey, we're going to put this, then it was just for show. Like, they like, damn, we didn't think nobody would actually do it. We thought, like, the police car would stop most people, and the police car would stop most sane, logical people because you wouldn't run up on the sidewalk. But they're not thinking, like, if I didn't give a fuck and I wanted to just take everybody out, then would a police car stop me? No. Would some ballot stop me? Yeah. Like, he could have had some F-150 and just rammed the police car and then kept going. But he can't do that to those big-ass metal, steel, whatever they are, ballots.
The latest high-profile deadly ramming attack following the German Christmas market attack last month, the Berlin truck attack in 2016, and the one in Nice, France that same year. Jose Liris was visiting New Orleans and left the area just before the attack this morning.
The metal barricades were not up, just the standard plastic ones like you see there. There was police there at the entrance, a lot of police there, but the metal barricades were not up.
A city website showing what the new bollards may look like says the project is set to be completed next month. But a nationally televised college...
And that's crazy. Like, not just the streets. There need to be some bollards, like that could come up out the sidewalk, like, together. And then when there's not a big event and the cars are loud, they go down and people can walk over them. But people will go up on the sidewalk. That's crazy to just block the street.
Football playoff game is supposed to be played here tomorrow night. New Orleans City Council member Helena Moreno says the city is ready.
Do you think New Orleans can host a football game here this week safely?
I'm going to tell you this, that right now so many resources are being deployed down to the city of New Orleans that no doubt about it, we will host a safe game tomorrow. Everything from federal resources, state resources, additional intelligence, like you name it. It's like that's all happening.
And Jesse, again, joining us live from New Orleans. We understand the concern about these bollards and that they weren't in place for this attack. But is there any indication that the attacker was aware that had potentially cased the area before the attack?
Could have.
At this point, Lester, we haven't seen anything from officials about potential other targets in the city of New Orleans. But what I can tell you is something that would potentially be a prime target in the city this week and also next month is where I am right now. This is the Superdome. It is supposed to host a football game. It was supposed to host it tonight in just a matter of them down the block throughout the afternoon, Lester.
I spoke with Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill a short time ago. I began by asking if there is an active manhunt underway.
Well, there certainly is continuing to be an active investigation so that we can identify just how many additional individuals were involved. But I can tell you with some certainty that there are multiple individuals who are involved.
There has been some reporting that there may have been individuals who were handling or placing IEDs, explosive devices. Can you confirm that?
Yes, and there was a house fire in New Orleans this morning that was connected to this event where we believe the IEDs were being made.
Oh, so you think it was a house fire and they made the because it is dangerous to make improvised explosive devices, IEDs. This might be a whole cell. Oh.
So you have a location where you believe the IEDs were being manufactured?
We do. It was an Airbnb, so we know that these individuals had rented the house, were using it for that purpose, and then the other events unfolded early this morning.
Under the circumstances, there might be others out there. Is it wise to go forward with the football again, the Sugar Bowl, even a day later?
You know, not my decision, but I would like to see it delayed at least another day. If they asked my opinion, I would tell them that. I think that it was a wise decision to delay it at least a day. This is an active crime scene. And, you know, they just finished removing some of the bodies and they still haven't removed all of them. And I still think that we probably need to wait an extra day.
Is there
just out of like, so it's not tacky, like, oh, we got to hurry up and do this and get the money. Like, nah, we need to stop. But they losing a lot of money. But it ain't about that. It's about human life over money.
a further threat to the community?
No, I believe that the community is safe, and there certainly are a lot of there's a huge law enforcement presence here in New Orleans. I believe that everyone is safe, and the governor plans to attend the football game. Fixed.
Attorney General Merrill, we thank you for your time.
Can they get any sort of video from that location? And what about the IEDs? If he was making these improvised or homemade explosive devices there, how was he making them? What was the technical capability of them? Were they remote detonated? Did they have the ability to set them off? Or others going to set them off? Who was coming in and out of that house, if anybody? That's going to be a focus. So that's column A. Column B is specifically those particular improvised explosive devices that were not found in the car, but were nearby this scene on Bourbon Street or near Bourbon Street. We are told that initially the FBI was looking at several individuals who were seen near them. They've since wrapped up that investigation, or at least that avenue, and it appears that they are not connected with placing these suspected devices there. So it is still possible overall, Lester, when you look at this investigation, that this individual did in fact act alone, but it's just far too soon to say. And one of the things that they're looking at is, how did this individual become radicalized? In other words, how did he get to a point where he believed in what ISIS was saying, to put that flag on the back of that pickup truck and drive through this crowd and killing these 15 people?
As an Army veteran.
How did he get to that point? One thing that they're looking at there is his travel, specifically some travel that took place in late June, early July of 2023, where he apparently flew from New York's JFK airport to Cairo, Egypt. So they're trying to determine, did he actually get on that plane? Was it in fact him in that trip? What occurred when he went overseas? Did that have any connection to what ultimately became this deadly terror attack? And then apparently once he comes back here, Lester, he flies from Atlanta to Toronto several days later and then comes back here to the U.S. Again, does that have any connection to what we've seen here? So that type of work is going to be ongoing. The FBI is going to be involved with foreign government agencies, foreign law enforcement agencies, to try and determine who he was maybe meeting with overseas, or did it have nothing to do with this at all. It's just part of the work that's going to be ongoing. Closer to home here, Lester, in Houston, the FBI says that they are at a location there where they're conducting some law enforcement activity. That's their words for saying that at some point they're going to be conducting some searches, because we know that this individual is from there, and presumably they're going to be interviewing neighbors, any sort of landlords, anybody that might be connected to this in any sort of way to figure out who is this person and where did things go so terribly wrong. There where they're
look at this
conducting.
Well, listen, I mean, there's not much to say. It's just God bless America and these people that have fallen, and this tragic, senseless thing. This death stuff, the wars, death, terrorist attack, it don't do nothing to help anybody. It just goes to show you that there's evil in the world. Like, I don't even know what to say right now. This is just crazy. And then there's something else that happened. You got the Trump thing, and you got, this is an ongoing thing, and somebody need to step down or something, that they wasn't ready. They took all those ballots and knew they had this. They said, forget this, the Super Bowl, anybody attacking to be the Super Bowl. No. And for him to do it at the Airbnb, I almost guarantee that there was somebody else. And most Airbnb and people who rent out Airbnbs will have cameras in their house so they can see what's going on, or some type of Ring doorbells or something like that. So I'm sure they probably seen whoever was going in and out that house or tracing him back, and the FBI going to do a deep dive on this man, his family. They're going to check everybody. So we're going to know in a couple of days who this man was and what was his name. Do they have a video of him? I mean, the picture. Shamsud-Din Jabbar, 42. You're 42 years old to become radicalized. After the army, after everything you've been through, and you go and a trip to Egypt and come back radicalized, come on. Whatever he was going through was not that bad. These people, well, when you have especially religions that, like, you believe that you could possibly be doing something good by doing this, that's shame on you. Shame on you for taking your religion and twisting it to be something evil. I don't care if you're a Christian. The Templars were Christian, and what they were doing in the name of God was nasty and disgusting. What these people doing with this jihad, the holy jihad, whatever, that's nasty and disgusting. Nowhere in their book, whether the Torah, the Quran, or the Bible, it tells you to do this. But they can sit there and play games with words and convince these men to do this for the sake of their religion or for love or whatever it is, man. Let me know what y'all think, Cave Dwellers. This is sad. Pray for these people. Hope that nothing else happens. She said the governor planned on going. They need the FBI, I'm sure, going to do a thorough sweep, make sure there ain't nothing, no bombs. They're going to have bomb-sniffing dogs searching out, because if these IEDs, they're not well made probably. They got a chance of going off with them just probably transporting them. But ISIS is good. Taliban is good at making IEDs and they use fertilizer, whatever it is, nails, make shrapnel. So this man planned for carnage. He was stopped. He was in the shootout, but he planned for a lot more. He didn't get those bombs off, those explosives. But if he did, I don't know what was his plan. Like, that's crazy to just drive in there. We lucky he didn't go there and put him there days before in hiding spots and then set him off. So I don't know what he planned to do. Did he get shot before? Like, did he plan on blowing him in the car up? Or did he just get shot? The police shot him before that? Well, no, but I'm sure they'll update us in the next few days. Let me know what y'all think. Oh.